Blackstone Audio presents The Terrorists by Maj Sjöwall and Per Wahlöö. Translated from the Swedish by Joan Tate. Chapter 1. The National Commissioner of Police smiled. He usually reserved his smile, boyish and charming, for the press and television, and only seldom bestowed it on such members of the inner circle as Superintendent Stig Malm of the National Police Administration, Eric Muller, Chief of Security Police, and Martin Beck, Chief of the National Murder Squad. Only one of the three men smiled back. Stig Malm had beautiful white teeth and liked smiling to show them off. Over the years he had quite unconsciously acquired a whole register of smiles. The one he was using now could only be described as ingratiating and fawning. The Chief of the Security Police suppressed a yawn, and Martin Beck blew his nose. It was only 7:30 in the morning, the National Commissioner's favorite time for calling sudden meetings, which in no way meant that he was in the habit of arriving at the station at that time. He often did not appear until late in the morning, and even then he was usually inaccessible even to his closest colleagues. "My office is my castle" might well have been inscribed on the door, and indeed it was an impenetrable fortress, guarded by a well-groomed secretary, quite rightly called the Dragon. This morning he was showing his breezy and benign side. He even had a thermos of coffee in real china cups brought in, instead of the usual plastic mugs. Stig Malm got up and poured out the coffee. Martin Beck knew that before he sat down again he would first pinch the crease in his trousers, and then carefully run his hand across his well-cut wavy hair. Stig Malm was his immediate superior, and Martin Beck had no respect for him whatsoever. His self-satisfied coquettishness and insinuating officiousness toward senior potentates were characteristics that Martin Beck had ceased to be annoyed by and nowadays found simply foolish. What did irritate him, on the other hand, and often constituted an obstacle to his work, was the man's rigidity and lack of self-criticism, a lack just as total and destructive as his ignorance of everything to do with practical police work. That he had risen to such a high position was due to ambition, political opportunism, and a certain amount of administrative ability. The Chief of the Security Police put 4 lumps of sugar into his coffee, stirred it with a spoon, and slurped as he drank. Malm drank his without sugar, careful as he was of his trim figure. Martin Beck was not feeling well and did not want coffee this early in the morning. The National Commissioner took both sugar and cream and crooked his little finger as he raised his cup. He emptied it in one gulp and pushed it away from him, simultaneously pulling towards him a green file that had been lying on the corner of the polished conference table. "There," he said, smiling again. "Coffee first."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?